What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 58 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. I had to look at my phone because I wasn't sure what episode.
You weren't here
it
last
was.
week, so you're totally off.
Yeah, I don't even know. Anything could have changed. This show might not even be the same show anymore.
I renamed it.
What is it now?
Kevin the Potato and his three best friends.
Welcome to the first ever episode of Kevin and the Potato and his three best friends.
Yeah,
Is that what we said?
nailed
best
it.
friends. I like that. Yeah. So what's the source of this Kevin Potato thing? Is it the same potato thing that the internet has the potato thing?
Well, I started it and then they jumped on it.
Got it.
So on Colin Moriarty, I just started calling Kevin a potato because he kind of looks like a potato sometimes.
He kind of does.
Like a sexy potato. Like a fingerling potato.
My God.
Fingerling potatoes are the bomb. Putting that out there right now.
Pretty good.
Love a good fingerling potato.
Ladies and gentlemen, as always, I'm Tim Gettys. I'm joined by the coolest dudes in video games. That's going to stick one day. I want
it already
everyone,
does.
I know, but I want like the people that aren't our people. I want like other people to think that you guys are the coolest dudes.
Okay.
You know, like the other dudes in video games. I want them to be like, oh, one day I want to be great in
What about the other dudettes in video games?
Well, they get their own scale.
Okay.
Yeah. You can't be on that scale, Greg.
Okay.
Just in case the ego is getting in the way. You can't win that one.
Oh, we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I guess you're right. So if you are not familiar, this is a show every week over here on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. We talk about video games and all the things that we love about them. We also do it on iTunes and SoundCloud. There's a problem with iTunes. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah, we should just start talking about this in all the shows. If you're subscribed to us, unsubscribe and resubscribe. If things aren't coming up
missing
in your
notifications,
feed,
right? Yeah.
Don't know what's going on. I think it was an iTunes podcast thing across all the boards. I'm seeing a lot of people saying this shit. So make sure you check that stuff out. Leave a review if you feel so inclined, and just say something about us. You know, let us know how we're doing and all that stuff.
Are we allowed to talk about this shirt? I want to know more about this shirt.
We
this
are
is a
allowed to
very
talk about
nice
the
shirt. Where did this come from?
This shirt came from Insert Coin Clothing.
Okay.
Insert Coin Clothing.
This is not a plug, by the way. This is not an ad. This is not planned.
Well, I mean, I like them.
Well, sure. No. I'm just saying it wasn't like, by the way, we're brought to you by.
This is sponsored in the sense that it's not sponsored, but I saw a bunch of clothing from them. I'm like, fuck, I like this shit. So I reached out to them. I was like, hey, like, I want some of your shit. They're like, oh, we'll send it to you. And I'm like, they were super nice.
This shirt's awesome. I like this.
I like it too. It's Hello Kitty. Hello Kitty's my homie. So that's cool. I also got a rare shirt from them.
Oh, that's what I saw you wearing that yesterday. I didn't realize that was from them.
That's featured on the Game Over Greggy show. You can go to youtube.com/kindoffunny to see that one. But anyways, yeah, insertcoinclothing.com. Check them out. You'll probably like something they have over there. They sell like Nathan Drake's scarf. And like there's a lot of licensed stuff that's like actual game.
They're the ones who did the cool
things.
Diamond Dogs jacket, right?
Yes. The Diamond Dog, the PlayStation jacket. I got that one. It's pretty fucking dope.
Why haven't you worn that yet?
Because I'm waiting. There's build up.
Sorry.
Anyways, more of the rigmarole. Patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. You can get the show early and get exclusive episodes. I think that's the more cool thing. Only costs $1. This episode gonna be worth $1.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now.
Sure.
I feel some good discussion coming on.
I like it.
Yeah. We've been playing a lot of video games recently.
We have.
Let's start this one off right. Just like right now. Topic 1. We're going to give a bunch of reviews and impressions of games we've been playing. So this is a mix of a topic of what are we playing right now with, more substantial thoughts. On games without having to give a full topic to the games. Because I feel like right now, especially with the games we're talking about here, not all of us have played them, or some are more Tim, or more Colin, or more Greg.
Right.
So we'll just kind of give mini reviews / impressions. You want to start this one off?
Sure. How you doing?
Good.
Good to see you. My name's Greg. Lately, I've been playing. I started Far Cry Primal last night. Put about an hour and a half into it, maybe 2. Played the night before that, episode 1 of Minecraft Story Mode. Late to it on that one, but saw it on the thing and didn't want something. I wanted something that was going to end. I didn't want to jump in that night knowing Far Cry Primal was the next day and get into something that I wouldn't have time to actually done. And then I also beat Layers of Fear this past since we've last done this.
Cool.
Or whatever.
Cool.
So I've enjoyed all of them. Starting with Far Cry Primal, only an hour and a half in, right? I feel like I'm waiting for it to get amazing. You know what I mean? It's more Far Cry. It's Far Cry with a primal skin, I feel like. And I know that sounds like a knock, and I know they went out of their way in the event we went to say that's not what this is, but it's what it feels like it is. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like, I'm playing it, and it's like, okay, cool. Like, the crafting system seems not necessarily deeper, but it's more it's laid out better, I feel like, or at least I know where I'm going in terms of like before where it was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get to this, and you had to drill down into menus. Kind of everything's up there. Same thing with like the skills in terms of improving your character and doing this. I'm seeing it right, on the thing there. But the HUD, the little radar, the map, it all looks like Far Cry, and it's the same idea of Far Cry. And go here and take out these guys and light the bonfire to take that, and that's all great. It's all well and good, but like, I was talking about it to Nick today, right? And he was like, yeah, okay, cool. And he's like, are you going to beat it? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to beat it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is a game I'm going to play for a while, I bet. But even tonight, I'm like, do I want to play that or do I want to play episode 2 of Minecraft Story Mode? You know what I mean? Like, it's this Far Cry Primal is checking the boxes of being, I'm a video game and you have all these question marks on the map. Don't you want to go investigate them? And I'm like, I do want to go investigate them. And don't I want to make the bigger quiver for my arrows? I'm like, I really do. So I do have to go hunt down these dingoes or whatever the hell, however I pronounce this thing. And so and that's all there. But for me in particular, and I wonder how much this will be for everybody else too. I always talk about being this story horror and this different thing. Like, I don't feel a connection to these characters. You know what I mean? Like, it is for me a hurdle that I'm reading everything. Not that I hate reading, but just because like I'd rather hear my character talk. I wish they would have done. I think when we were at the event, I talked to you about like, are they going to transition at some point? You know how sometimes movies or cartoons or shows will do that where somebody's speaking Russian and then like the camera swings around and they start speaking English. So it's like, it's established they're not speaking English.
Yeah.
But here you go. They're speaking English so you can understand. It's not doing that. So it's like, okay, cool. Like the whole time I'm like, well, and like also it's Primal, of course, right? So it's like, what's this girl's name that I'm helping?
Yeah.
Like, what's her deal? And I gotta go get a shaman or whatever. It's like, all right, you know what I mean? Like, that's fine. The idea of building out the community, because you have to go, like, there's like side missions to go help, you know, whatever, wayward villagers or whatever, then you can bring them back and put them in your village and build out your village and make it bigger. That seems cool. That seems like what's going to be different compared to Far Cry 4, or the Far Cries we know before. But not having really invested that into that yet, and investigated, I should say, I don't know if that's going to be enough. And I have such a bad taste in my mouth from Fallout base building. You know, I'm not like jazzed to make a community. I'd rather roam the countryside. Like, you're already running into like, oh, you don't have a grappling hook yet. I'm like, ooh, grappling hook's going to be dope to get. Yeah, that's going to be dope to get and shoot around here. But it is Far Cry. It is a video game. It is go do all these things. But even then, it's like, I think I've pieced this together. I think you and I were talking about, I was like, I think I beat Far Cry 4. I saw both endings. I watched Steimer beat Far Cry 4. And then, so I played Far Cry 4 but never finished it, but watched her beat it. And then I did the ending where you just sit there for 15 minutes in the beginning of Far Cry 4. That was all well and good. But now that I'm playing this, it's almost making me like, it'd be cool with a wingsuit and shooting stuff. Maybe I want to go back and play that instead of this. You know what I mean? But I'm going to give this more time. But in traditional, I think, Telltale fashion, I'd let this, Minecraft slept on it a bit. Like, you know what I mean? I was trying to just wait for it all to be done, like to get to episode 5, but episode 5, nowhere in sight right now. They say soon. I was like, oh, whatever, I'll try it. Jumped in, tried that. It starts off like, who are these? What's happening? And then I really got into the characters and the play between them. You know, this is their first one where they're really using like celebrity voice actors. You know what I mean? So there's like people in there other than, I mean, Scott Porter's in it and like a bunch of the other Telltale people, but Patton Oswalt, you know what I mean, is like this main character of the game or whatever. And so I like him. I like where the story's going. Episode 1 did make me want to play episode 2. So I think tonight I might actually just play that instead of Far Cry.
I saw that you tweeted yesterday. You're like, oh, I'm happy to see that they did the same type of intro that the other ones are doing. What do you mean by that?
Well, Tales from the Borderlands, when it started, you know, like, I feel like, you know, for as much shit as Telltale gets, they do evolve their product as they go, right? And Tales from the Borderlands was the first one where it was like, I feel, we're going to give you this game that's lighthearted, fun. It's based around the story or whatever, and we're going to present it to you like you'd expect a really good TV show or a really good movie. And so what Tales from the Borderlands always did is that you'd start playing the episode, and then there'd be this like critical moment, like maybe 15, 30 minutes into the game or whatever, where an awesome song would come in to set the mood of what the game's going to be, and then it would be like slow motion, funny, like the words and the Gearbox logos are coming in and falling in, like, you know, you're tumbling through the sky or doing this thing, and it was like this great breather all of a sudden after this short little appetizer introduction of like, now we're getting into like, this is what you're playing. Here's this awesome intro, you know, to establish what's happening. And it was different for every episode because it wasn't like, you know, the Sopranos opening that always is the same clip, right? It was this thing in the world of what's happening in the story. And so I wasn't sure if that was something they were doing for Tales from the Borderlands or if they were going to expand it to other things, and they have it in this game too. Cool. So like you started off and like, yeah, you're this in episode 1, you know, tumbling through the air, this is coming in, creepers are there, spiders are there, it's fun stuff.
So the Layers of Fear.
Well, I'm not done with story mode. The thing about story mode that I find interesting though is when I'm playing it, it makes me really want to stop and play Minecraft. If that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, I'm enjoying the story part of it. And I think maybe now it's different based on the fact that I've beaten the episode. I'm even more. But in the beginning, for sure, when I was playing, like, you know, they're in the Minecraft world or whatever, and they were going to a build competition and stuff. And I was like, I should probably start Minecraft on PlayStation 4. Because I've been playing on Vita forever. And that's fine, but like, it's limited. You know what I mean? And I think that's hampered my excitement to go back to it just because it's a smaller world, whereas PlayStation 4 worlds are crazier and better builds and, you know, caverns. better minds.
Yeah.
You don't know what I'm talking about. You don't play
Better
Minecraft.
minds, better crafts.
Better crafts indeed.
Yeah.
And then Layers of Fear. Layers of Fear, we did the sponsored Let's Play that's up over there. And when we went and played that at the Haunted Mansion, which you can go watch on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, it was fun because we were all being goons to each other and stupid, but it was like a relay thing, and Colin went first. So when I went in there and sat down to play Layers of Fear, no idea what the fuck's happening. You know what I mean? Like, I'm playing it and it's just like, all right, collect this, do that. This guy's talking. Is this a random dude? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so last week when I got my code and sat down to actually play it, I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it and how actually interesting the story is. And when you start in that thing, you're like, oh, the voice is me and I'm this character and this has happened to my wife and I had this daughter and like, how does this all play into each other? And you're picking up notes and reading about this story of like, oh, like this is actually really, really interesting. And it's another, game similar to Minecraft story mode, right? Where like even tonight, like I'd like to play something that has an end. So I'm done with it and I feel like I've completed a chapter and I put it away. Like Layers of Fear, 6 chapters, you can beat it in a night. I think I spaced that out over 2 just because I started late. But it's the same thing of like I go through, I explore, and it's conquerable. And then when it's done, I feel like I've accomplished something. And I if I want to go back and jump back in and do this thing, I could. You know what I mean? I want to get the whole story out of it. But it was fascinating. It was an interesting story. It runs like shit on PlayStation 4. It has scares. You know what I mean? When I was playing it, for me, it is like that. All right, PT didn't happen, but this is like similar to it, and it's going to give you the same kind of spooks and scares and stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You know what I mean? And when I dug about it, as I'm playing it, it occurred to me that like, this is my preferred haunted house. Like, you know what I mean? Like on Halloween, when you go to the haunted house and the guys in the mask jump out and stuff, it's like that thing of like, oh, that was funny, but like, it wasn't great. I don't know. It never really gets me that much. You know what I mean? Whereas this one, it's like, you do something and you turn a corner and you're like, it's a dead end. I'm like, I got to turn back around and the world's going to be completely different now. And something, and you still get scared because you don't know what's going to be there. Because in the video game world, literally anything can happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas in the haunted house, it's just some fucking broke ass college kid with a mask on.
I did not enjoy it nearly as much as it sounds like you guys did.
Did
like,
you played the whole thing?
I didn't beat the whole thing, but I don't even want to. I played most of it. I think most of it. Yeah. And it just, I don't know, it felt like it wasn't what it was trying to be overall. Like it wasn't PT. And like I really enjoyed PT and I enjoyed the story of PT and how like figuring out little things. This to me kind of just felt like it was trying to just get all the big scare moments out. And it's like it felt like a kind of just adding all the different things that we've seen from the horror games over the last couple of years into one just thing, and just like here's this moment, and it like almost becomes predictable of where the scares are going to be.
Of course, yeah.
And I think the greatest offense though is that the game, while it was designed to just kind of like, let you explore these areas and feel like you're, getting the story and all this from the atmosphere and the environment. It was tunneling you to get to this next moment, get to this next moment. And I feel like the game didn't do a good job of making sure those moments were optimized to be seen by the player. Like I feel like there was multiple times where like I'm there and I know when I turn around something's gonna be there, but I turn around and I wasn't exactly facing where the scare happened.
Sure.
Or even in Colin's Let's Play, like there's a scene where you're walking down the hallway and things like the paintings start like coming off, and there's something a little bit off about it that I was like, that could have been scarier. Like that could have actually been a surprise instead of, all right, this is gonna happen.
Gotcha.
Like I feel like it's really telegraphed and it just misses the mark in terms of the scares. And in terms of the gameplay, it's like, I mean, it is very simple. It is just like a walk around and do things.
Right.
So it's like, it's, whatever, that's all fine. But it's just because we've seen so many scary games in the last couple of years that are just, you're walking around something and things are just happening. Like this kind of felt like a bad greatest hits album. That's kind of my thoughts on it.
Interesting. No, I don't think you're wrong. Like I'm saying, I think it is telegraphed at times, and I do think it, like I say it's like PT. It's not PT. It doesn't have the presentational value of PT, right? Like I think that like, in terms of how it looks, how it runs, the voice acting, it's like, okay, like this clearly isn't a AAA game, but I enjoyed it. Colin, you played it.
Well, just real quick, I think it's just what I was saying about like the just acclimation of all the stuff in one. It's just like, all right, here's baby dolls. Oh, here's a big face. Here's like scary paintings that do stuff, and it's like, man, it's real. And here's like goo. There's the black goo, and it's like, if they just stuck to kind of maybe one aesthetic, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more. Whereas this, it was just like so much different things. They're like horror. It's horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, to reiterate, we did have a sponsorship with them, so you can take everything we say about the game with a grain of salt if you want. But I think the game's quite clever, and think it's actually really good.
And you didn't like PT.
Yeah, PT was strange to me. I mean, this game's clearly very inspired by PT. I don't think it's like PT at all, but I think it's inspired by it. The game does a really nice job of rewarding exploration and rewarding being very thorough with the storytelling, and I actually find it quite engaging and captivating. I was playing it through all one night, and I got distracted during the last chapter by a phone call, so I never went back to it. But I will. I mean, I just have to finish that 6th chapter. But so unless it falls off the cliff, I don't know that it's going to be any worse than what I think it is. But I do enjoy the rifling through shit and like being rewarded for finding letters and newspaper clippings and stuff like that. And the story is really interesting about the struggling artist and his wife who gets into a terrible accident. And I don't want to spoil too much of it, but like you could really go through the game without knowing any of the context at all if you're not thorough. It reminds me of Gone Home in the sense that it's not nearly as good as Gone Home, but it reminds me of Gone Home in the sense that the more you engage with the world around you, the more you get out of it. It's the exact opposite way I felt about Firewatch, where Firewatch was just whatever. Like the story was kind of boring to me. It didn't really matter what was going on in the game, and there was no reason to really explore because the game didn't compel you to do so directly. And I think Layers of Fear does a really nice job of saying like, maybe try rifling through some of the shit, because most of the time you're not going to find anything, and you actually start to get frustrated after a while opening everything and like there's nothing there. But then like you see a newspaper clipping or you see a photo or something, and it gives you a little bit of context for what this gentleman's going through in the game. So I think that it's quite clever. It doesn't run well on PS4, but I like it a lot. Like I think it's I don't know if I'd say it's great. Maybe it is, but I think it's good. I think it's very good. If you're into the more walking simulator horror game, and I actually think the horror is quite clever because it's very what's a good way of putting it? It's like chapter by chapter based in the sense that like with the baby stuff, for instance, like that whole chapter is about the kid. So like that's interesting to me. It's not like when we played it at the mansion, it did seem like it was the greatest hits of of horror tropes or whatever, but like in context, I don't really see it like that at all. I don't find the game the jump scares and stuff, like I don't find any of them scary at all. Like I don't think that's what the game's about, and I don't think the game's about seeing everything that it wants you to see either, in terms of like the things flying off the wall or people creeping around you or whatever. I think it's more about the psychological horror of the house and this guy's psychosis. So I think it's quite good personally. I've been playing Saturday Morning RPG a lot on Vita, and it's really good.
What is that?
It's an episodic. So these guys did a Kickstarter for this game some time ago, and they only raised $10,000. So it's a pretty low budget turn-based role-playing game based on this kid named Marty, who is like an 80s kid, and it's all these 80s tropes in the game. So it's 5 episodes. Each episode's like 2 hours long. I'm on the 4th episode right now, and you just like you're in a high school, like an 80s high school, or you're going through. It's very silly, and like the bad guys are like the G.I. Joes basically, or Cobra. They're called like the bad guy's name is Commander Hood. And the Transformers are in it, and like there's all these like Back to the Future references and et cetera and so on. So but the gameplay is actually really solid. Explained a little bit on PS I Love You, so I'm sorry if it's redundant for people that have listened to that show as well. But you have a trapper keeper, like a binder, and you keep everything inside of it that you find. So you find like stickers, like scratch and sniff stickers or whatever, and you can like use 5 of them at a time before each battle to like raise your defense or like lower the hit points of
this sounds fucking awesome.
And but like they pop up on the Vita, and you like scratch them like quickly, and like you have 5 seconds to get them all, and then like some of them pop up, and you like know the status elements and stuff, and then you get into the game, and you find like these tools that you use, so you can like just punch and fight normally or charge yourself up to do more damage, but you find like different items in the world that you can use in battle as well a certain amount of times per battle. So you can find like a basketball that if you like hit the enemy with it, like it causes burn damage, and you can find like a Simon game that like if you keep doing it in order, like it causes like random status ailments to the enemies or whatever, and then you fail and it can cause like status ailments to you basically. So like there's all sorts of like different tools. The game's quite clever. It's somewhat difficult. Again, it's not pretty. It's not like over the top or whatever, but there's a lot of like funny references in it, and for people that grew up in the 80s and in the early 90s, I think that it will really resonate with them as well. And it's just quite silly, and it's cheap. So it's on PS4 and Vita. You can play it on PC as well, I think. I've been spending quite a bit of time with that, and then I downloaded Trails of Cold Steel finally, which is a role-playing game that's getting quite a bit of acclaim on the Vita. It's also on PS3. But I only spent about an hour with it. It wasn't scratching the itch that I wanted right now, but I am traveling right after the show, so I'm going to start jumping back into it and seeing if it resonates with me, because I do see something interesting there, but it just wasn't resonating with me in that way. Saturday Morning RPG, on the other hand, was like really scratching some itches for me, and really enjoyed it. I do highly recommend it. The load times are a little slow on Vita, but there's something like really quite quirky and clever, and I think it's a lot of fun to
You
play.
said, what is it, episodic or just broken up Saturday morning RPG?
Yeah, like it's all within the same game, but there's like 5 episodes.
How long are the episodes, roughly?
2 hours or so.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then your stats carry over from one to the next or whatever, and you know it scores you based on how thorough you are in finding secrets and finding the stickers and the items or whatever, so you can go back and play them again. And there's like a battle mode and an endless mode and stuff like that. So it's a pretty good game. I've definitely enjoyed it. Maybe my favorite game of the year so far. When I really think about it,
It sounds cool.
Yeah, it's neat.
I've been traveling a lot because of Philadelphia, so there's a lot of flights and a lot of layovers and a lot of bullshit. I told you I wasn't going to bring my Vita because I wanted to focus on Fire Emblem Fates. But I ended up bringing it. And one of the flights I played Fire Emblem Fates and Birthright, and one of them I played Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. And in between, I was just on my phone. I found this new mobile game that is awesome, and I want you to try it, Colin. Because this is one of those things where if it was on Vita, you'd be all fucking over it. It's called Tomb of the Mask. Tomb of the Mask. And it's awesome. It reminds me, it's like if Pac-Man and Super Meat Boy fucked, like this would be the result of it. It's a really fast-paced thing where, you know, in Pac-Man, you kind of just choose the direction he goes. Imagine if that had the like kind of just like super fast, just like splashing against thing nature of Super Meat Boy, where you're in this tower and you're just going up, and there's like the bottom of the screen's rising like Tetris style kind of to get you, and just keeps going faster and faster. And you're just collecting like little dots and coins and stuff. But the game does a really good job of like rewarding you and making you want to keep leveling up and keep getting more points and stuff. And every time you reach like a certain amount of little pellets or whatever you get, like you reach a new level and like the screen explodes with like, you're now level 5, you're now level 6. And it's like, I don't really know what it means, but I want it. You know what I mean? And it's like it's a perfect mobile game for me, where it's like, I keep finding myself laying in bed. I'm like, I'm gonna level up 3 more levels. Like just, you know, mash it out till then. I'm like, I guess I'll keep going a little longer. Or like if I'm waiting in line for something, and like it's a good game for that. And it was perfect when I was just on my flight, just like in between doing other stuff. Like I don't really want to invest in like an RPG right now. So for right now, I'm just gonna bang this out, and it's pretty fun. And I want to see what you have to say about it.
Yeah, I'll play it on your phone if you want.
Then there's Fire Emblem Fates.
What do you think?
Oh, I mean, I love it. It's Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
Fire Emblem is one of my favorite franchises, I think, overall. And it's such a surprise to me because I obviously got into it only after Smash Brothers because it wasn't in America till then. And, you know, then I kind of went back and I've played all of the American games that have come out. And like, I love them so much. And this was the first time that a new one was coming out that I wasn't super, super stoked for. Like I never really liked the look of it. It was confusing to me. There's 3 games. So there's Birthright, Conquest, and Revelation. And it's the same. The beginning of the games are always the same for the first 6 chapters, but then there's the story branches and it does different things based on which family you choose. And then Revelation is kind of like the true ending like version where you don't choose either side and you just kind of like do your own thing.
You're playing the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that they released it that way where it's 2 separate cards. So it's kind of like Pokemon Red and Blue. And I'm seeing a lot of places review the game as if it's the same game, which doesn't really make sense to me because it's more similar to Zelda Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, where they're 2 very different games. They have similar, you know, things going on and the same characters and stuff, but like it's very totally different game. Once you reach a certain point, or you can buy the special edition, which is the one I have that has all 3 on one cart. And that gives you the option to, once you beat Birthright, you can start from chapter 6. So you don't need to replay, which is good. Nice. And that was a worry I was going to have. I was like, I don't want to have to do that. It's like basically the tutorial missions again.
Yeah.
So I'm happy you don't have to do that. I haven't beat any of them yet. I am 85% through Birthright. And they've made it really clear that Birthright is the easier of the 2 games. And I wanted to, you know, kind of work my way up. I think the proper way to play would be Birthright, Conquest, and then Revelation. And it's really good, you know. The reasons I was trepidatious about it is I don't really like the designs of the characters too much. It has the 2 families. One of them has a more European flair, and one has a way more old school Japanese feel. Whereas all the other Fire Emblems have been a bit more like anime style European vibe, you know. And for all the reasons I wasn't excited about it, playing it, I'm like, oh, I like that this is different. Like, I'm not just another guy with blue hair and a sword. Like, your main character has white hair and a sword.
Oh, there you go. Totally
no,
different.
but the main character isn't the kind of just warrior style that you're used to having in the Fire Emblem games. She or he, mine's a she, turns into a dragon. So it's like in Fire Emblem, there's characters that can like turn into animals and stuff. So I like that there's just a kind of shift. It'd be the equivalent, going back to Pokemon, of if they were to make a Pokemon game that you don't choose either a fire, water, or leaf starter, like actually choosing different types and stuff. And it's like, I appreciate that they tried to at least shift this core gameplay element a little bit, enough that like it affects the storyline and the actual gameplay of it, instead of just having one character that you just have that just goes through and destroys everybody and is obviously stronger than everyone on your team.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying it. Birthright, I hear, and from what I'm playing in the game, it's way more straightforward than Conquest is in terms of the mission objectives. It is just kind of go through, clear the map, go through, clear the map. But even then, it's interrupted with like kind of new twists on it that keep it interesting. And I always like and appreciate that Fire Emblem does that. Like they understand when it is becoming just the same game over and over. Whereas Conquest, I hear, has like every mission has a different like gimmick or twist to the mission that you need to think about. And one of those that's across all of them is because you turn into a dragon, there's these things called dragon veils, I think, where on the map there'll be squares that if you get on them, you can like use your dragon powers to change the landscape. So it's like if there's quicksand, you can like shoot fire at it and it like makes it hard so you can like walk over it. And you'd be able to move more spaces faster or whatever. But if you do that, it also affects the enemies, and that means they can get to you quicker and stuff. And it's really cool. And it's one of those, it's a nice little twist that they added to the game in the same way that last game's Awakening added the partner system, where it's like, it's the same shit, but like it's a twist that really does kind of change the dynamics and flow of each match. And they also improved the partner system that they had in Awakening, where it's not overpowered. Like in Awakening, you kind of partner up and just like wreck hell on everything. Now it is a bit more, there's two options. There's more of a offensive or defensive based on whether you partner with them or just on a space next to them. And I like that it opens up a lot of strategic like elements to the game that really make you think about all your characters in a way that I normally just focus on a couple, and I'm like, I don't really care what happens to the rest of them. Having said that, the story is similarly like lame and just kind of like here it's fairly generic, and here's your emotional moments, and it's really kind of like paint by numbers. Awakening had the same issue. Like I kind of missed like Fire Emblem 9 had such an awesome story, like Ike's game. I loved that. And this is kind of just, it's like, all right, I get what's going on. And I think my biggest complaint about the game is that the characters are all so similar looking and have such weird names, and there's two families, and like they throw you into this in a way that the other games don't, where I'm like, I don't know these characters, and they're not different enough looking so that I can be like,
commit them to memory.
All right, that's the healer that I really like need. This is the archer that there's a better one, or this is the, you know, Paladin, whatever. And so it's like, there'll be certain characters where before I'd be like, all right, I know who my go-tos are. Now I'm like, oh shit, I just leveled up this person when I meant to level up this person. I'm really excited to keep playing though. And it's definitely, it got me in its loop of like, I'm addicted to it. I want to keep playing, and I'm going to play through all three of the games. And I like that the three games, and since I have it on one cart, it's just a super long ass game of gameplay that I love. So
that's awesome.
That's cool. And there's also a new defense mode where like there's a castle and you have to build a fort and stuff. I hate that shit. There's no game where I'm like, this is what I want to do. So that's upsetting to me. But the mode in that's cool, where instead of going off and trying to fight everyone, you're defending. So it's one of those things where like there's people coming from all angles, and you need to make sure you don't die for 11 turns. And that completely switches the way you think about the game, and I like it a lot. So I definitely recommend it. It adds to the 3DS's vast library in a way that was necessary over the last year. So
it's a meaty game. People have been looking forward to it.
Yeah. It's really good. And then the last one, Digimon Story, Cyber Sleuth.
Oh yeah.
It's it's good. I can understand people that are really into it. It's not for me because it is just, it's too long to be as generic as it is. And I feel like it takes too long to get me to the parts that I want.
Sure.
I'm a huge Digimon fan, like the show. And this game, it blows my mind that we're finally getting a Digimon game that like looks similar and like I'm like, oh, this gameplay is cool and it's good. Because I played Digimon World. The last Digimon game I played was Digimon World 1 on PlayStation 1. So I'm sure that they've gotten better since then because that one was really weird and all you did was clean up poop. But
hopefully they've gotten better.
Digimon's always struggled with this thing where it started as Tamagotchi, or before Tamagotchi there was Digimon, where it's just like you have a monster and you kind of take care of it and feed it and all that stuff. And that's not the type of gameplay that I like, you know. I am more of a Pokemon guy. I like this whole thing. And this game, it's Pokemon, and I'm like, ooh, well, I didn't want it to be just Pokemon. Like, you're actually catching them, and like they evolve. And the whole thing about Digimon is the digivolving thing's supposed to be like a status where they go up and then down. And this is more like they're at that level and they stay there, and it's like, oh, that's kind of weird.
That's Pokemon.
And it's the turn-based thing. It's very simple, and the biggest problem is it's easy. And even when I'm like 5 hours, 6 hours in, it's like, man, this is still like I'm just rolling through enemies like with 1 or 2 attacks, and like there's not even a chance of me losing. And I'm sure it gets harder, but at the same time, like I'm not sure it's ever even going to get difficult enough that it's going to be worth playing 40 hours for, you know, just for it to get kind of difficult.
Sure.
Because it's not rewarding. Like I don't feel the need to level up the characters and whatever, because I'm like, it's just generic is kind of the best way I can put it. Like the music sounds really generic. The look of it's great. Like it definitely looks nice. It's on Vita and PS4. I think I'd prefer it on Vita. On PS4, it's a little like I'm playing on Vita, but I turned it on my PS4 just to see how it would look.
Sure.
And it's a little sparse.
Is it the exact same game? It's just
exact same game. This is a game that came out in Japan a year ago, 2 years ago, and like people protested to get it to come here, and so it finally did. People are really enjoying it, and I'm happy about that. But for me, it's such I'm gonna make a JRPG. Here's what it is, and as you're just walking around, it's very empty locations. The battle system, it's as primitive as a turn-based battle system can be, and I want to play with fucking War Greymon. I don't really want to.
Of course
just
you do.
Go around with
We
this
all
shit.
do.
And like that's so many hours into it that like I can't even imagine how long I'd have to play to get to that stuff, and that doesn't make me want to keep playing.
Yeah.
But I get why people would like it, because the story does seem, you know, like standard Digimon fare, and the characters obviously are the characters you know and love. So that's all cool. But it's not for me. But I get that it's for other people, and I'm happy I put as much time into it as I did. So
good.
There's that.